Hello, first tonight, why business is booming at our seaside towns.
For years it's been a struggle for resorts offering the traditional bucket and spade holiday. It's an industry which plays a vital role in our economy. Around our coast, 23,000 people work in tourism, helping to bring in more than £500 million. And it's getting bigger. Our chief reporter Kim Riley is in Felixstowe now.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, if you mention Felixstowe, you think of a vast container port. And look over my shoulder, you can see the giant cranes of the port over there. But actually I'm standing in what they used to call, or they still call really, Old Felixstowe. It was a traditional seaside resort back in the Victorian and Edwardian era, and they're very proud of what remains here. In terms of employment, this sort of seaside and the resort that goes with it brings in around 1,100 jobs, and that's just here in the direct Felixstowe area. When you put all the towns together, all the seaside towns, large and small, the impact on employment and the amount it means to the economy is absolutely huge. This report from Lowestoft from our business correspondent Richard Bond.
Right, welcome to the meerkats, everybody. Now we call them meerkats, they're not cats at all, they're actually a type of mongoose.
Even on a hot day, it seems meerkats are cool. They're one of the star attractions at Africa Alive near Lowestoft. The wildlife park attracts 150,000 visitors a year and employs 100 people.
As you can probably tell, I'm not from around here, but I moved over to this part of the country for this work, and in zoos a lot of people do travel for jobs like this, so yeah, we've got people from all over Britain.
Visitor numbers here up 8% on last year.
We're seeing more day visits, so whether that's people that are coming from their holidays, and there's less of those maybe, but they're still coming out for the days, or people coming from home. We're seeing an awful lot of people travelling out for the individual days. Attractions like this have helped to revive the resort of Lowestoft.
The heyday of East Coast resorts was in the 50s, when foreign holidays were the preserve of the rich and most people holidayed at home. Since then, visitor numbers have declined. But according to today's report, that doesn't mean our seaside towns are a spent force.
It says seaside tourism supports 23,000 jobs in the east, adding £500 million a year to the region's economy. Yarmouth is the biggest resort with 5,600 jobs, followed by Southend, Clacton, Hunstanton and Lowestoft.
This remains a major British employer, albeit an employer that's often a relatively low-wage employer, but these are very large numbers of jobs by anybody's standards.
In fact, for more than a decade now, seaside employment has actually been increasing. After all that's been thrown at them, our coastal resorts are nothing if not resilient. Richard Bond, BBC Look East, Lowestoft.
Yes, and all those figures came from a new report out today about the economy of seaside towns right around the country. Back here in Felixstowe, it's a perfect evening for a stroll along the prom. They used to call it the Garden Resort of the East, and they're still very proud of its gardens. I've been talking to Stan Harris. Now, he and his family have been running seaside attractions here for the last 30 years.
We're not a Yarmouth, we're not a Blackpool, we're a family resort, and that's our little niche we're trying to attract. We can't compete with the likes of the theme parks, the Out Towers and the Blackpool Pleasure Beach. That's a different ball game. In the summer season, we must employ 12, 15 people, I suppose, in our small little way. Then you've got the hotels and the bars and the cafes. There's more to it than what a lot of people realise, I think. So it's good that the local media, like yourselves, have picked up on this, because we've always been a little small part in the workforce, but now we're realising tourism is a major industry around the country.
Yeah, well, Stan told me he employs up to about 15 people in the summer. There are more people on the pier, 20 or 30 there. There's the amusement arcade, there's the bistros, the cafes, the ice cream parlours, and so it builds up. I think the message from today's report, this new approach to the seaside towns, don't write them off.
Kim, thank you very much.
700 jobs are under threat at one of the region's biggest hospitals. Managers at Addenbrooke in Cambridge are discussing ways to save £40 million over the next 3 years. The cuts could include 170 nursing jobs.
Addenbrooke's a hospital in a health service making cuts. They knew redundancies were coming here, but unions say not until today did they know how many and who may go.
Clearly those members of staff are carrying out very valued roles at the moment, and with the job losses of that volume, what's that going to mean for the safety of the service? What's that going to mean for the quality of the care that's going to be there for the members of the public, and the impact on the staff that are left behind?
Nobody from Addenbrooke's would speak to our camera today, but they told us their biggest bill is their staff bill, and that's something they just can't ignore. Of around 7,000 employees, unions say 700 will be cut. Nearly a quarter nurses. Just over 50 voluntary redundancies have been agreed, and some vacant positions will go unfilled. Addenbrooke's is in Andrew Lansley, the new Health Secretary's constituency. In the past, he'd spoken of protecting frontline health services. 30 million, though, for hospices like this one outside Cambridge is safe. Meanwhile, other Conservative MPs in our patch say the health service should not be immune from cuts.
I don't think it's tenable to accept that the NHS budget should be ring-fenced and increased. I think we need to find the political courage to accept that there is excessive waste in the NHS, and that it's unfair to expect the other departments to take all the hits. We need to look at the NHS as well and look at the excessive waste in terms of management consultants and other areas which need to be cut.
It's believed Addenbrooke's needs to save around 40 million, mostly from job cuts. That's a worry, unions say, for frontline care for patients. Mike Cartwright, BBC Look East, Cambridge.
The region's longest-serving Liberal Democrat MP says he can't bring himself to support the government tonight for an increase in VAT. There'll be a number of votes tonight on different parts of the budget. But when I spoke to Bob Russell, the MP for Colchester, earlier today, I asked him what he would be doing in the vote on VAT.
My gut instinct is to vote against, but we need to discuss it with like-minded colleagues. I certainly won't be voting for it, that you can be assured.
You will be aware that many people will see this as the first cracks in the coalition.
Well, I don't see it that way. If people want to paint it that way, I mean, there's a nonsense story in The Independent on Sunday, clearly placed by mischief elements in the Labour Party, which said Liberal Democrat MPs were in secret talks with the Labour Party. Well, that is balderdash. I could use a stronger word, but not on BBC East, obviously. And that is just simply not true. This is just part of the Labour's black arts.
You've been to see the whips this afternoon. What have they told you to do?
Oh, it's a very, very friendly discussion. I had a meeting with the Deputy Prime Minister last week. We're very relaxed in the Liberal Democrat Party. We don't get hang-ups like I think they might do in the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. They know where my views are, and I think there's mutual respect. They know that my bottom line is to not do anything which, in my opinion, would make things worse for low-income families, and particularly children already living below the poverty line. And I come back to my whole objective is that by the end of this Parliament, whereas Labour in 13 years failed miserably, leaving behind 3.9 million children living below the poverty line in one of the richest countries in the world, we're still one of the richest countries in the world, I want to see that zero by the end of this Parliament.
If there had been a chance that this would have been a vote on the VAT issue that would have defeated the coalition government, would you still be voting against it?
That is not a sensible question, Stuart, if I may say so, because it's so hypothetical, it's not to be worth even considering, because that's not going to happen.
So should I take that as a no, then?
I think you need to take it as it's not a sensible question.
Mr. Russell, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Still to come on Look East, Red Bull celebrate winning the Grand Prix and the miraculous escape